Good morning. Good morning. Morning. Good morning. Um, yes, I'm trying not to notice things like cars parked on the sidewalk, but I look at the flowers. The thing is, what you look at in life, you can choose what you want to see. I wanted to talk about the way people have been posting so many videos. A lot of these people who post those videos about Christopher Watts and who murdered his entire family are young women. Some of them are not young women. There are a few men, but mostly it's people who don't know her. Like, I never met her. I don't know the family. It's interesting that nobody who actually knew her, I think there might have been a tribute video, but otherwise nobody has made a video of her because they're still probably feeling the pain. And I want to explain why I chose to do a video about her. It is because I am reliving every single moment of the time when I was married to someone who everyone thought was the best father in the world. He'd rush home from work to his children. But on the other hand, he had temper tantrums. And every single time he had a temper tantrum, every single time I actually found myself with blue marks or with a dislocated foot or with anything, or if he had done something to the children, he would say, "Oh, that was a blackout, that was an accident." And while he didn't go so far as to, no, actually he did blame me. And the interesting part is that a psychiatric evaluation found nothing wrong with him because he had this way of looking so quiet and serene. And a lot of times in most societies, being quiet and not showing emotions are a sign of sanity, while being emotional and angry in verbal, like expressing your sadness, to express emotions that are expected of a person who's undergone abuse, is considered not normal. So I think we have to realize that there are, in this story, two types of psychopaths. One of them is making videos about people you have no idea about and talking about things you have no idea about that you never actually experienced yourself. I mean, how dare these young women who have no idea just put on videos of this woman. And that shows you why I deleted my Facebook account, is that I think the social media, it just allows people to make use of videos without permission. I also did a video where I show her talking, but I wanted to show, I was analyzing the way a woman who believes, who trusts, who has a heart of gold, when she meets someone who's manipulative, without emotions and without any sort of conscience, that is disastrous. And this trusting is a very dangerous trait, and it should be limited to angelic beings like children or animals or nature or whatever you think God is, but not to human beings who are just not worthy of this trust. And if you feel something is wrong, then you have to really listen to your intuition. I said that previous video. But there's two types of psychopaths. There's those making videos, and I don't know what they get out of it. What do you get out of it? You know, do you think it's actually amusing to talk about a murder of children and a woman and showing videos of how beautiful their lives were? It's really painful for me to see this, because I just know that there are so many families right now who are undergoing the same thing, that it can be also a woman sometimes, but it's mostly men. They pretend that they are like really wonderful fathers, but the traits of these men are that while their women are looking to raise children, have a family, they are looking to experiment in their whatever, to look for thrills, because they're bored and they don't want to be in a family situation. So instead of, just saying, this is not working for me and leaving, they stay and torture their families. And a lot of times that ends up tragically. They also cause a lot of damage to the children instead of leaving when they should leave. Because if they're not in there, if you're not in there for if you're not able to parent, then leave. Don't stay there and cause other people pain. But the problem is these people have no ability to acknowledge, to be conscious. They don't have a conscious awareness. They're not in touch with other people. And I think I'm going to scream if I'm going to see one more young woman putting on a video and talking about the Chris Watts case. As like, what did you ever experience? Did you ever have children? Do you know what it's like to have a baby? Do you know what it's like to have the partner, the father of your children, who's supposed to protect you, attack you? Do you know what it's like to trust someone because they pretend to be something they're not? Do you know what it's like that everyone looks at you as though you must be completely mad because this amazing man is like the best thing, that ever could happen to you, because, he's such a wonderful father and he's such a wonderful, devoted husband. However, there are always signs. He disappears without leaving any ability to trace him for weekends or for days off. And the fact that you are actually separated from the father of your children for a long time shows you that you cannot bear to be with him because of the way he behaves. And that was a clear sign there. I mean, who actually lives separately from their children for long periods of time? That shows that there was something going on. And the sad part is all these videos that she left, that people can just take them and use them. I did that one time to show how I thought she spoke with a lack of confidence because of the body movements and the way she was speaking. And what I wanted to say is that it must be illegal for people to just make videos about Christopher Watts' case now, because she's no longer in the picture. And I think it's really not okay to make use of the deceased memory, because we cannot speak on her behalf. We don't really know what happened, do we? We don't know what happened. We don't know what she underwent, really. I can imagine she underwent a lot of turmoil, that she had the same situation. I recognize that on the one hand, there's a person who seems to be like such a perfect husband and father. And the reason they appear that way is because I think think they really need this mask to live this double life. They have a double life. There's no doubt that the man I married had a double life in the fact that he was presenting himself as such a different person than he really was. In public eye, he was just such a devoted father, and then, running to the kids. But on the other hand, he had so much rage and so much anger, and it would just explode. And the fact that a psychiatrist could see him and judge him to be absolutely sane with a few sentences, and then get on about me being emotional, is just the reason why these things happen. Because there is these courts of law that are just so biased, and they just really don't promote women at all. I mean, he could say anything, that he could even speak against this woman and accused her of something. I mean, the man lied on camera to news outlets and to the police, and then he goes on and makes more lies. It's not enough that he murdered her, he has to murder her memory. It's just so typical, because these men, they have a personality problem. It's called inability to show empathy to anyone. And this is typical of men who are abusive. Yes, it's mostly men. There are also women, I can imagine, but in a very, very small percentage compared to men. When we look at domestic violence statistics, yes, there are also women. It's mostly men. And the reason being is society allowing them to get away with it, because they're just men and they're under pressure from work. Whatever work they have, it's always putting too much pressure on them. And therefore, they have to let it out. That's what one teacher I knew said, that, oh yeah, he has pressure at work, which is what excuses his violence. Now, it's hard for me to imagine that someone just explodes in one time. There must have been other times. But the reason it can happen is because it's a person who has an ability to show different personalities. So it's very confusing to be with such a person, because you doubt yourself, and if you don't have a lot of confidence, and if you're a trusting person, you have no idea what makes this person change. And then you think, maybe it's my fault. What causes this perfectly amazing man who's so devoted to his children and his wife to all of a sudden be such a different person and be so angry? Well, the reason is because he has a double life. He has his family life, which looks really good, and that's his mask, and that's his protection. Actually, he's using children and a woman as a protection. And then he has his private life, which is completely a mask, chaotic, and completely different than the organized, acceptable family life. So it's really important that we learn from this case that there are shady characters in society that marry, and then they have children, and then they just live double lives, and these are characters to look out for and be aware of. And if your gut feeling tells you something is wrong, usually it is. And as for these young women who have no idea, who've never had anything even remotely close to it, or if they did, I would like to hear their story, not their interpretation. I think it's wrong to make assumptions about a person you don't know. And so part of me says I shouldn't, but on the other hand, I think I know him. I think I've been married to him, because it's just, the similarity is uncanny, because it's just the same type. He needs a woman and children to be his mask. He needs that, and he will do everything to keep that image up. He will please people by being this helpful, likable guy, knowing that he has a shadow side that's very separate. Now we all have, I'm sure everybody has good qualities, less than good qualities, but somehow it's a mix, and I think in most cases you see that it's a mix. But in those types, it's completely separate. The outer appearance and the family life or the other secret life are completely separate. And then this causes a lot of tension because you have to keep up this act. And how long can you keep up an act?